The Lakers are your team. They've written a new legend here in the upper Midwest. They've become, indeed, the Paul Bunyans of basketball.
Number 10, the Hartford Whalers.
It's over, folks. It's been a great ride. The Whalers will go out winners.
The Whalers weren't originally based in Hartford, Connecticut. In fact, they were first known as the New England Whalers back when they played in the World Hockey Association. This changed when the WHA was absorbed into the National Hockey League in 1979 and moved from the city of Boston to Hartford.
We embraced the community. The players did, management did, and ownership did. And it sustained us.
Despite some playoff appearances, the team often struggled and could never play on a consistent level. Attendance at games and the inability to come to terms on a new arena were both issues by the end of the Hartford Whalers' existence.
To our loyal fans and to the corporate community who worked so very hard on this, we want to say how deeply sorry we are that things are working out this way. We wish it could be otherwise.
In 1997, owner Peter Karmanos Jr. announced the team would move to North Carolina, and they went on to become the Hurricanes. Number 9, the Vancouver Grizzlies.
There's almost no trace of the Grizzlies in Vancouver.
Expansion teams can often be a hit-or-miss prospect, both in terms of success and popularity. The Vancouver Grizzlies arrived to the National Basketball League along with the Toronto Raptors in 1995, but only made it 5 years or so before relocating to Memphis in 2001. What spurred the move ultimately came down to one thing: winning.
We're the youngest team in this league. It was a temptation to go for the older veterans when we built our team. We might have won more games, but we choose to go with young guys whose best days are ahead of them and not behind them.
The Grizzlies didn't make much of an impact while playing out of Canada. They never made it to the playoffs and lost way more games than they won. In fact, for a time, they held some of the worst losing streaks in NBA history, dropping anywhere between 19 and 23 games in a row.
Once again, the Grizzlies lose a heartbreaker here at the Alamo Dome.
Grizzlies need some help now.
Number 8, the Quebec Nordiques.
They want to spring somebody loose for a good drive on the net. Sauvé took the shot, they scored!
As we've seen thus far, there is a lot of shifting between cities when it comes to the wide world of sports. Teams come and go, but Quebec City is one of the few to only have 2 teams to their names, both in the National Hockey League. One of them was the Bulldogs, who only played a single season in 1919. The other, the Nordiques, are more fondly remembered, despite massive early struggles to maintain a winning season.
You'll notice that Marcel Aubu, the president of the Quebec Nordiques, presented Eric Lindros with a sweater. Eric Lindros just simply took that sweater, draped it across his arm. He will not put the sweater on. He made that perfectly clear to the Quebec Nordiques and said that he wants to explore all his options.
This changed after a tumultuous 1992 draft debacle with Eric Lindros, which resulted in the Nordiques acquiring a number of players who helped turn the team around. Despite the ensuing success, the team was just in too small of a market to play, and they soon shipped off to Denver. Although they were able to claim the Stanley Cup as the Colorado Avalanche, their legacy in Canada continues.
We
miss the Nordiques a lot, this woman says, and now the Stanley Cup, that really hurts.
Number 7, the Houston Oilers.
Come on now. You know I don't need to say much. We worked all year for this. This opportunity, let's go out and accomplish our goal. All we need is a win on 3. 1, 2, 3, win!
In the 20th century, mergers have proven to be a fairly common practice in the sporting world. In 1970, the American Football League merged with the National Football League after a 10-year run. The Houston Oilers were one of the teams from the AFL that made the jump to the NFL. The team had its fair share of ups and downs.
That's Buddy Ryan taking a swing at Kevin Gilbride. Now that's hard to believe. That's baloney. I mean, it's just hogwash.
While quarterback Warren Moon made a name for himself as the team's star, they also became infamous after blowing a 35-3 lead against the Buffalo Bills.
It is right down the middle.
After failing to get a new stadium for the team, owner Bud Adams relocated the team to Tennessee in 1997. They are now the Titans, and although Houston now has their own team, let's just say that, well, things are not going so great down there. Number 6, the Minnesota North Stars.
This says it all, doesn't it? Of all the teams to leave town,
How was it hockey?
The Minnesota North Stars made the Stanley Cup playoffs quite a few times during the course of their 25-year career, even making it all the way to the Stanley Cup Finals on 2 separate occasions. Unfortunately, the team could never pull off the win. Despite some strong winning seasons, the North Stars would eventually pack their things and move to Dallas in 1993.
We're not going to miss you, Norm. We'll miss your team, but we won't miss you.
Several reasons have been cited for the relocation, including a failure to upgrade their arena, poor attendance during their losing seasons, and, reportedly, a sexual harassment lawsuit against owner Norm Green.
Well, now it is official. The Minnesota North Stars will be no more in Minnesota. They're packing their bags.
But Minnesota hockey fans didn't have to wait too long for a new hockey team, as the state was granted an NHL franchise in 1997. The team would make their debut in 2000 as the Minnesota Wild.
Years of patience are quickly rewarded.
Avalid tried to clear. There we go. Wild will get it free as a chance for Newman, and he scores!
Number 5, the Brooklyn Dodgers. Believe it or not, the Dodgers were not always based out of Los Angeles. In fact, the history of the Brooklyn Dodgers dates all the way back to the late 1800s. This iteration of the team was in existence from 1884 all the way to 1957, and was a big part in making the great American pastime what it is today.
And these Dodgers at last are world champions. Delirious with joy, teammates and fans mobbed the Brooklyn pitcher in wild acclaim.
Along with 12 National League pennants and a World Championship under their belts, the Brooklyn Dodgers were the first team to ever host a paid admission game, and were responsible for breaking the color barrier in 1947 with one legendary player, Jackie Robinson.
I don't pretend to be an expert on communism or any other kind of politicalism, but you can put me down as being an expert on being a colored American.
This alone makes them hugely important, but all good things must end. And after a unanimous vote at the mid-season owners meeting in 1957, the Brooklyn Dodgers made the move to LA later that year.
It's the first time you realize that something that you thought could never go is gone, and it's gone forever.
Number 4, the Montreal Expos.
The Expos are still alive in Montreal. You just have to look a little harder to find them.
The Montreal Expos held the distinction of being the first team in Major League Baseball to have their home base outside of the United States. They are fondly remembered by their fans, despite failing to muster any winning seasons during their first 10 seasons. The early 90s were a great time to be an Expos fan, especially in 1994, although the team's winning ways were waylaid by a players' strike.
They knew it was going to be a long strike. They knew that there was some big issues that year.
The clock is ticking because the owners have said they will unilaterally implement their salary cap proposal after the season. The players have a simple choice. Take the salary cap proposal now, take it after the season because they impose it, or strike.
That marked the beginning of the end for the team, as the Expos were never the same afterwards. Many of their best players were sold off, and their winning records became a thing of the past.
That eroded fan loyalty, and the love affair fizzled out.
The losing, along with financial troubles, resulted in a move to Washington with a new team name, the Nationals. Number 3, the Baltimore Colts. One cannot discuss the history of the Baltimore Colts without a mention of one iconic quarterback, Johnny Unitas.
Eventually, everyone would know the name of this obscure former semi-pro quarterback. Johnny Unitas' career became the sport's most famous Cinderella saga.
He helped shape the Colts into a winning franchise, and they captured 3 NFL championships and a Super Bowl.
The kick is up and it's long enough. It is! A 32-yard field goal by Jimmy O'Brien. It is good. He nailed that one. It went clear up into the stands.
However, after negotiations to upgrade their stadium went sour, team management made the controversial and unpopular move to Indianapolis in 1984, much to the irritation of Baltimore citizens. The manner in which the move took place left a bad taste in their mouths.
The Colts had to sneak out of town at night. It degrades a great tradition of the city in football.
In the end, however, there's no denying the impact the Colts have had on their respective cities.
The team may have moved, the stadium may be gone, but in the hearts of the fans, the Baltimore Colts will live forever.
Number 2, the Minneapolis Lakers.
And where do you look to find the world's greatest basketball team? Well, look for the land of 10,000 lakes.
The Minneapolis Lakers made a name for themselves in the National Basketball League prior to officially joining the NBA in 1947. The early days of the franchise also saw Minneapolis win a number of championships during the 1950s.
5 times world champions in 6 years of championship play. That's the record of the Minneapolis Lakers.
It's difficult to separate the Lakers from their more well-known home base of Los Angeles, however. And the team actually hadn't been playing that well, and attendance at home games was quite low prior to their West Coast move in 1960. Today, the Lakers are as synonymous with LA as sunshine and the movie industry. But for a time, the team had a completely different vibe.
The Lakers are your team. They've written a new legend here in the upper Midwest. They've become, indeed, the Paul Bunyans of basketball.
Number 1, the Seattle SuperSonics.
I hope they get another team. You know, there's no town, no city in the country that deserves a team more than this does.
As we've seen with the other defunct teams on this list, the construction of a new stadium or arena can often be a make or break deal when it comes to the longevity of a franchise. Case in point, the Seattle SuperSonics, whose run in the Pacific Northwest was cut short after the public would not help fund the construction of a new $500 million home base back in 2006.
It was a proposal to build the most expensive arena in the NBA at the worst traffic intersection in the state of Washington, right in the middle of the S-curves on 405 down by Renton.
Prior to this, the SuperSonics were a force to be reckoned with during the mid-70s and early 80s. The team even won the NBA title in 1979.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let the celebration begin in Seattle. It is over. The Seattle SuperSonics have won the NBA World Championship Series in 5 games.
Unfortunately, the SuperSonics took a dive after this, struggling to compete as the 80s turned into the 90s and beyond. Eventually, a relocation was announced, and the Sonics became the Oklahoma City Thunder.
It was a shock to the system. I was disappointed. I was loved being in Seattle, like I said.
It's like an emptiness. There's a definite emptiness. It's not the same without the NBA here.
Do you agree with our picks? Check out this other recent clip from WatchMojo, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.